What's going on?
Sorry, not much.
I got it. I'm gonna go grab some extra coffee. Good morning, Cecilia.
Morning, Travis.
And I came home from the gym. There's a dead mouse on my driveway. Petrified, like I didn't know what to do.
That sucks. Probably froze to death.
Maybe. Yeah, it looked like it was just off to the right enough to not get run over when my wife backed out, but
Yeah.
I don't know. It did look like it just died too.
Huh.
Like it didn't look injured or
This one.
put it there. I don't know.
That should be everybody there.
I don't know.
Okay. Okay, I'll be right back. I'm gonna go grab coffee.
Okay. Huh. So Morning, Paul.
Morning. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I was having difficulty signing in again. I always have trouble with Zoom.
Really?
Yeah,
It's just automatically works.
it doesn't like my Apple.
Oh, yeah, understand that. All right.
All right, I'm back. I shot off a couple texts too for reminders. Feel like I'm missing someone though. How's it going, Paul?
Hey, good morning.
I'll be tried and true here instead of Rise Realty. How about
Don't
that?
you love it?
There you go. Easy switch. I've been so productive this morning. It's awesome.
Nice.
It's like dragging yesterday, man, because I had to go pick up Alicia and my daughter from the airport Sunday night at like midnight.
Where'd they coming from?
Indiana.
Ooh,
You have family there?
No, she was looking at a college tour.
oh, that's nice. Which one?
IUPUI, I think.
Oh,
Something like that.
one of the initial universities, huh?
Yeah, it's a big one. It's in the middle of the city,
Which city?
Indianapolis. Is that the only one in Indiana? I think that's the only city in Indiana.
No, there's. I hope actually there's not. There's.
Oh,
Maybe
isn't
the only
there?
one that matters.
I forget there's Gary, Indiana. Remember the Jackson 5?
My family lives in Gary.
Yeah.
I couldn't even point out Indiana on a map.
Wow.
It all becomes a blur after like Arizona going that way.
Dude, I don't know how people, it's funny. We actually played trivia with a couple of past clients, and my wife loves trivia, and I just sit there thinking, man, why do you let this stupid information even stay in your mind? Like taking up space, that the amount of dumb stuff that wins these games, it's hilarious. Like, why? Oh man. All right, guys. So, are we recording?
We're
We are?
recording. Darren's not going to be able to make it, but he's going to watch the recording. Alex is trying to get his guys on, and then I just text Baltazar.
Okay. Do we want to wait or start?
Let's go ahead and start.
Okay. So, couple things. What we're trying to do here. We spoke about this before. Our call report, our loan files, and the goal of this isn't to create more work for you or create a bunch of extra stuff or anything. It's about staying compliant for us as a company, as a brokerage, and for you, so you can continue to process loans and make commissions doing this. There are a couple of things that are very important that I think in the first year, and I don't want to blame Natalie, but the way that Natalie took on a lot of the loans in the early season probably enabled us to neglect this part of it. But things are changing. Amelia is very good. I like her a lot. She's great. And for being so young too, she's really good. She's been around, she's done a lot of stuff, but She's also working with another brokerage. She's super busy, and she wasn't like Natalie that was willing to take on a bunch of stuff. I think Natalie at that point was building a business from zero, and she wanted to get as much money as possible, which is absolutely fair. There's no problem with that. She did great when she was here, and she just didn't enjoy, she became licensed and was able to make money doing something a little bit different at a higher, return. So that doesn't change anything for us. And as we grow, we've added 3, 4, 5 LOs and a couple of small teams. This is getting more important. It's gonna get more important again in 6 months and again in a year as we keep growing. Because just simply the more loans and the more people we have that are processing for us and pushing out loans, these things are going to be more important. So we have a call report. It's due every 90 days. Basically, each quarter, we have a little bit of a cushion after the quarter ends, and we have to put in, actually, I'm going to share my screen real quick. The goal. You guys seeing my screen here, business activity and mortgage call reports?
Yeah.
Cool. Okay. So the call reports needs to be submitted to the NMLS every 90 days for the brokerage to stay compliant. If the brokerage is not compliant, you are not legally able to work as an LO. So you guys, it is important for you guys to help us stay compliant. The report that we need to put in basically includes mostly critical dates of each loan that you get an application for, or additionally every loan that closes. The included with this call report as a part of the loan and all the documents, we need to keep a transaction record of every document is submitted to you and our lenders. So whether it comes to you in your computer, into the LOS, into lending pad, or if it goes in front of an underwriter at any of our lenders, we need to keep those documents for 3 years to be compliant. And that on a closed loan, it's based on the day the loan closes, 3 years from that date. If a loan for whatever reason is canceled, denied, rescinded, whatever it might be, we need to keep all those documents that led you up to that decision by the client or the lender. And that 3-year period is based on the application date. So these things are super important. We have to do them. There is no wiggle room. Why this becomes super important, and we're wanting to get you guys more aware about this, is we absolutely need your help. We have set up this brokerage as as close to 100% brokerage as possible for you guys to maximize the amount of commissions that you can get from these loans. So,
Question, Andrew.
yes.
So on all the documents that we received from the borrower, should we be uploading them into the LOS?
So the ideal situation is exactly that, correct. Loading them into the LOS is the ideal situation. Then in the workflow, so when I came on, I had a loan in process, or to start working immediately. And Travis explained, here, we're going to run it through UWM. They're kind of our main lender. They're very efficient. I agree with him on that. And I went right into UWM. I never even touched the LOS.
Yeah.
And part of that is a challenge for us ongoing, that we kind of have to push back on you. Unfortunately, it is your business that you're running. But the LOS, for the most part, is kind of it's not specifically a tool that's going to get you paid, but it's a tool that's going to keep you compliant, allowing you to get paid. So we do need to keep the ideal situation is every document that a client sends you goes into the LOS, into the documents section. And I will show that to you guys on a future call, where how simple it is to upload those and tag them and everything, so it's easy. The benefit for you doing that process, if you adopt it early on, is now you have all your documents. You've received an email from your client. They sent you, hopefully they sent them all in one email. Let's play with that unicorn client for now. You take that and you upload them into your LOS system. You process it, you get to the point where you've been able to run AUS. Now you have a basically a pre-approved client that maybe they don't have an offer accepted yet, so they're just sitting in your system, pre-approved. And you know, as soon as they get an accepted offer, now you quickly look at rates, figure out what lender you want to go to, and then you're going to push that completed AUS approved file into that lender's system. At this point, again, the LOS system sort of becomes not as necessary, because everything has to be worked through the lender's portal. And that's just a challenge of us being independent brokers. If you worked at a direct lender, they would have, everything would be linked through their system, whether it be Lending Pad or Encompass or whatever, and it would all go through that system, because they only have one lender that they're working with, and those guys are already connected to that. Where we have the ability to, you know, work with multiple lenders, which adds a kind of a second challenge for us. But we're all smart grown adults, we can handle it. But the additional benefit of having all those files that you just mentioned, Paul, in the system is now you can just shoot a text or an email over to Amelia or your processor and say, hey, here's the contract, here's the file, we're pushing it to UWM. All the documents that I used to pre-qualify this buyer are in Lending Pad. Now she goes to one spot, finds all those documents, pushes them into UWM or the lender of your choice. Keeps it super simple. At this point, we haven't had really a human touch that could potentially lose a file or anything other than you uploading them into the LOS system. So it keeps it a little bit simpler. It's cleaner, and you can do all your work from there. The nice thing about Lending Pad additionally is they're continually adding new features and fine tuning what they are. So as we get better using Lending Pad, they're also getting better with their product. Does that make sense, Paul?
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay. So,
And I think it's just important to think about this as not an extra step, but a tool to help you be more productive. You know, once you get into it a little bit more and we're working with the processor, like both of you can collab in that so much easier than flying emails around and everything else when it comes to docs and stuff like that. So,
yeah.
You know, use it for what it's meant to be used for. And I think you'll actually find that it's not going to be a burden, but a help to your business.
Yeah, it definitely simplifies things. It's just a slightly different way of communicating. It's very similar to like, hey, am I gonna work with Amelia through text or through email? And you're just saying, you know what? I'm at my desk. I'm gonna store all these files in this thing, and I'm gonna push them out from there. And she can go in and communicate and deal with that and grab that stuff, which is nice because like I'm dealing with the file with her that some of the files are huge, and I'm having to open them and resend them. I'm having to, you know, I load them in there and let her go get them on her computer. So it acts as kind of as a storage facility too, saving your computer. Again, it's not going to change your life by, you know, not saving it on your computer, but that's where it needs to be for us to stay compliant. And if we're not compliant, you can't work. So that's why we really want that help.
Andrew,
Yes.
Quick question. So does Amelia have her own login now so she's able to see all of our loans being processed, or are we giving her our credentials? How's that working out?
So currently, she is not familiar with lending pad at all. She has not been she has not had to use this system this way yet. She will have my login, which gives her branch manager access, and she can see all your guys' loans and go in and make adjustments. Now, if you have your own processor, that's up to you, or if you have like a junior LO, an LOA that are in your system, you know, as long as anybody that you allow into your system, you've got to decide and trust. So, you know, we if you're using someone different than her, I just need to know that. But yeah, we're gonna get her set up. I'm working with her. So one of the things that she's doing, or her and I are doing together, is using my files as sort of templates of how we can build out a bit of a streamlined process
So you're
for
the guinea
everyone
pig.
to adopt. And believe me, I'm horrible to work with. I'm so
Well, she's
picky
really
about things.
good. I closed the file with her,
Uh-huh.
and I loved it. I mean, it's not that I'm really proud of, but I think it's how it's supposed to be. I didn't do
Uh-huh.
shit after I submitted the loan.
Okay.
I mean, she took over from there, and just pretty much just get me posted of the milestones.
Yeah.
It was the smoothest loans fucking I've done in a while.
Nice. Yeah, I'm really happy with how she is. She's super easy to deal with, and one of the things that I do enjoy about her, and I think uh, a lot of our LOs who are newer, she when you ask her a question, she'll take that opportunity to turn it into, let me explain how this works. And it's not like it doesn't come across as like overbearing or you're an idiot, you should know this. She's just, okay, let me just show you how this works. So next time we can, you can do it without me or whatever. But it's a really nice benefit that she kind of communicates that way. Now, Alex, do you have a few guys on your team that
Yeah,
work under you?
yeah.
How many?
Two, for sure, two.
Okay, awesome. And okay, cool. And then do you also have another processor? I thought Travis had mentioned you might have someone else too.
I have two other processors that I work with. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Maybe we'll jump on a call and go over some of your processes, because there might be things that you're doing that we should just adopt. And I don't really like recreating the wheel if you've got one that works well.
Yeah. I think with what helps me is that they're both good. They have really good experience,
Uh-huh.
but one of them, she helps me out because she's a really good friend of mine, but she's
Uh-huh.
actually an underwriter. So
Okay.
so she processes my file as an underwriter. So
Okay.
it helps me out a lot too when she submits the file, or even when she has to communicate with the underwriter. She has the same level of knowledge, or even more, because she has her own FHA. She has her ego.
Oh, wow, nice. Okay.
Yeah, so when she talks to them, she's able to say, well, no, that condition really is not necessary. You could do it with this.
Yep.
Without fighting, like you said, with like Amelia does it. It's just more of like, oh, I thought we could do this, and that, and so I don't have to worry with her. She pulls some shit out. Just good.
That's awesome. And with those files that she works on, do you find, do you notice that you have less conditions coming back, less touches, anything like that? Are you able to process,
Okay,
like get it closed quicker?
with Betty, once I get my approval,
Uh-huh.
it's super clean, and even after I get the approval, I mean, she's really good at only giving me what I need to do, because I don't really know. I don't even want to know about anything else.
Okay.
I just want to know what I need.
And so for your system and your team, um, is your processor communicating with the client, or is she communicating with you and you're dealing with the client
She
through
communicates
with
with
the
me.
needs?
I deal with the client.
Okay. And I feel like um I'm in a situation where I like that. Just staying kind of that main contact point. I don't mind chasing a couple of documents, because usually it's just a couple of emails. But I know that, and I have a worksheet that we're gonna work through in the next couple of weeks about, just kind of tied to money-making activities and how we could kind of break this up. And, we'll go through that together and kind of figure out, and we might, take some jobs from the processor and keep them because we agree it's a money-making activity versus, or there might be things that we're doing that in the conversation, you might go, you know what, I actually don't need to do that.
You know what? And one of the reasons why I liked Amelia was because that particular loan is not a loan that I get all the time. And what I mean by that, it was a conventional refi, no cash out. Like I had almost like an 800 FICO score. We are 40% LTV. I mean, you could have been blind, deaf, and everything else and do that loan. So I didn't have to get into it. So she communicated with the client completely, but she had a high level of communication with him that
Nice.
I loved. She made me look really good. But unfortunately, I cannot do that. I can't expect that to happen with the rest of my loans, just because the majority of my loans is, right now, this client, I've been asking for 2 months bank statements and the sourcing of this, and that. And she sends me one page. And I said, oh, great. Can I have all pages of all the bank statements?
Right.
So I get another email and it's the very same email. And I say, hey, it's still the same one page. Can you please send me this? So it's like a back and forth, and I will hate for any of my processors to waste their time with like this. Like so that's why I gotta chase that. Like, hey, no, dude, like I gotta do this. Because I don't want, for the $950 that they're getting paid, I do see my processors kind of like not doing me a favor, but
Sure.
they're working hard. And then just to go chase this lady down, and it's just one example. There's other stuff, so those loans, I do it, but I get what you're saying. I say, yeah, we're working for $20 an hour task, or do I concentrate on what's making me the real money? So here in my team, I have my wife that I don't have her as a processor because I don't want her to completely process, but I do have her follow up, like sending out like Google reviews and maybe sending out emails, collecting some information. She'll see me on it, like, hey, we need this, and that. So she helps me out a lot with that. But no, you're completely right. I think that definitely as loan officers, we have to see what's making, where are we spending the time that we're supposed to be spending with a little bit more of what's the word? Economically speaking, it has to make sense.
Sure.
What am I doing?
So yeah, and we're gonna move on because there's actually some really good information I want to get to you guys. But as a example of what you're talking about, this training I was at last week, which is where I got some of the stuff that we're gonna talk about in a minute. They did this exercise, and one of the LOs said, "Oh, I go to every signing for my clients." And the guy's like, okay, that's cool. That sounds like great. And everyone in the room's like, kind of like, oh yeah, that's a nice thing. And I've gone to, I think since 2006, I've probably gone to 4, maybe 5 closings between real estate and a loan where I'm sitting there with signing. And all 5 of them, what happened is questions came up that sort of caused doubt, but they didn't change anything, like having me there was allowed, like, oh, what about this? Oh, it almost added a sense of like uncertainty. But the guy said, he goes, hey, so why do you go to those? And she says, oh, that's the point when I could build some rapport and help build a really strong relationship so I can get future business from them. And he goes, that's a great idea. That makes sense. It's probably, you consider that a money-making activity then, right? And she's like, uh-huh. And he says to her, what were you doing the other 30 days that you were working with this client to now need to build rapport so you get future business? And it was interesting. The whole room had this sort of light bulb moment, like, oh my God, like, you're right. Like, I don't need to, like, that one event shouldn't be what gets me future business. It should have started the day that I took an application, you know?
Yeah.
And now and then if you're taking that scenario, like I've built rapport through this whole thing by communicating clearly when I'm collecting docs or information or giving an update. And then all of a sudden we're getting to this closing and it's like, hey, go meet this notary, have him come to your house. He'll be there for 20 minutes. You guys will book through this. Most likely there's not going to be a problem because I've already explained everything with you, and these documents are, they're pretty, boilerplate for the most part. And you can be done, they can be done, and you go back to life and work on a fun tomorrow, And it was even for me, it was like a light bulb moment because my last direct lender that I worked at, they always had this big deal about, having the client there for closing, and they'd take pictures of them, giving them like floor mats that have the brand of the mortgage company. Like, who wants that at their house, But make sure you stand over here. So again, just an interesting thing, and it'll be a fun exercise later. Let me just continue on because we want to make sure you guys hear. So the other thing that we want to just talk about, and this has actually come up a couple of times because of the time of year. So I'm sure that it sounds like everyone's got their license updated. I would go in and go into your NMLS, take a snapshot of your approved status inside your file, make sure it shows the NMLS website, kind of make a big screenshot and just keep that in your file. Because what we're seeing is some of the lenders that we work with, and if we work with them less often, they're not having our file updated. So I ran into the situation. I was told that by UWM that 3 or 4 of the guys had situations where it looked like they hadn't renewed their license, or UWM hadn't got that. But goes along with that is, we can currently do business in California. So we're not, and there's plenty of business in California. A lot of LOs asked about getting second licenses and things. And Travis has considered adding more states to his license, which until he gets more licenses under his broker license, we are limited to California. We do have to have, ours in approved status to be able to legally speak about and negotiate loans, offer pricing, anything like that. We also need our a license in approved status to collect commission or process a loan at all. So, and I see this in B, I put this, it's $100 fine, which doesn't seem like anything, but ultimately you're getting fined $100 if they catch you doing this, but you also shouldn't be compensated for that loan, and it just throws a wrench in everything. So this is just kind of a housekeeping thing about loans or about licenses, let's see. I got this. So this is one other thing that we talked about recently was trust accounts, which if you're also registered as and do business as a realtor, trust accounts were something common back in, I don't know, what do you think, Travis, the 70s, when you actually took a deposit from your buyer clients and held it in your account or your broker's account, and that's where a trust account came from. We currently don't do anything that we need to worry about a trust account. Even if you take a prepayment for an appraisal or a prepayment to run a credit check, that's going directly to that service provider. All we need is the receipts in the file that show that. And each time that you get that, you would see that. We get that naturally with the appraisal, but if you do take a prepayment for a credit check, you just want to grab that information, take a screenshot of it, do a print a PDF and just dump it in the file and just let it sit there for the 3 years. It's that simple. Nothing else it doesn't appear that we need to track anything differently. We're kind of looking into this a little more just to get a little bit more detail, but we believe that information is about all we need, is just the documentation that it went to the service provider and it never was held by you or the brokerage. All right, so
For clarity on that, if you receive $35 paid to you, that would be trust money. If they're paying Advantage Credit directly, then that's not. Or if you collect the credit card info and input that into Advantage Credit to run that, the borrower is still paying Advantage Credit directly. But if you collect a check for $35 and then go and pay Advantage Credit, that is now money that needs to be accounted for as trust funds. So,
and I
don't do
guess so
that.
going one step forward in that scenario, if you pay on behalf of your client, like let's say you're running a promo where you're offering to pay for an appraisal, you know, or they just say, look, I don't have the money for this, man. That's the why I ran into this, you know, I was doing a refi for an elder family and they're like, we just don't have the cash. Like, and I said, okay, I'll pay for that. That can be set up to be reimbursed to you just like it's currently set up. So, you know, if you need to do that, you just want to track that the right way, you know, get the receipt, make sure it goes into the file. That way there's like everything else is just a quick look through and like, okay, this is what happened. Alex used his own credit card to pay for this thing. The loan documents show that, you know, when the loan closed, he was reimbursed that money to his broker, and either you have it or Travis has it or something. But as long as there's a clear path.
Yeah,
like
so
anything
that'd be a
else.
reimbursement and that would not be trust money.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So, perfect. Okay. So the idea of these, going back to the critical dates, and our main lender is UWM. One of the reasons is they make things super easy for us. So if you get to a point, like, let's say, you know, you have a loan that closed in January, and you want to go back and look at them, the simplest way to do that, and hopefully, again, if you ran it through UWM, and we're using them because they've got all their tools in place to make life easier for you and us. But let's assume you ran this loan through UWM, it closed, you didn't pay attention to critical dates. You simply can go into the file. So you pull up your client property address, the file, you're inside the file, and you scroll down to date tracking, and this page opens up. The nice thing about this page is everything is there. You can take a snapshot like I did, and then open up the LOS file, go into that same loan, open up the critical dates, and you can just go straight across, copy, paste, type it in, whatever you want. It's got everything. The nice thing about this is we as LOs didn't create this document. This is every either, you know, every digital or human touch from their side. So it's even more accurate. So we've got all these dates, generated date, which would be like when you started an application there or uploaded to their system. You know, they've got lock date. This I think is important for us, but I'll talk a little bit more. You've got, you know, initial loan estimate. So that's an important date. We know that once we get a loan into these guys' systems, they want these dates are important because it's helping them stay compliant too. You go 4 days past this and they're going to cancel this file on you because they legally have to. You know, estimated closing comes up, you're putting that stuff in. This is a nice one that that actually isn't in our system, but lets you know when to expect that, when your client's going to expect your first payment. So there's a lot of stuff besides using this for the critical dates to stay compliant. There's good information in this page to help you through your loan process. So now you've taken this snapshot, you've got your loan closed, and you're going to pop open your same file in Lending Pad. So we're just right here in overview. If we look over here, we've got edit CD, which is critical dates. You can see a couple of them that's just exposed here. But when you click on this CD, we get virtually a very similar page to what we were just looking at in UWM. And now you're just basically copying the dates across that match. These are these three circled in red and highlighted are the dates that we absolutely have to include in our call report. There's a whole bunch of other stuff you can see here. This is you know, it's a nationally sold LOS system, so there is some extra stuff that each company might use slightly differently. So we don't need them all, but these two, each of these sections, so prospect date and application date, these can be the same. That's why I've circled them this way. So ideally, if you put both, we'd like them, they can just be the same. Closed or funded is essentially the same date also. You know, so just double down right there. And then this is these dates are all different reasons why a loan might have not, might have been canceled. It was withdrawn by the client, it was canceled by the client, incomplete file, not accepted by the lender, rescinded for whatever reason. We also have approved date here, which I would think this is going to be your, it can be whatever you want. Approved and is like your pre-approved, anything like that. These green dates, these are dates that we kind of looked at that we would like you to have in there. You know, when was the LE issued? So we've got this date, which right now we know that this date and this date could be a month apart because we don't have a property until, you know, 30, 60 days sometimes. You know, pre-approval, you know, things like that. We've got processing. So when did Amelia start touching this, or your processor? So we, you know, which this probably is going to be very close to, you know, this date. But each of these is going to be, you know, kind of important. These circled ones, we have to have those. If you don't have those, you're going to get an email from, at the moment, we're going to get an email, hey, we need this updated, like we pushed out a couple weeks ago. Here's kind of the situation for us. Travis he's running this brokerage as lean as possible, which in today's market is probably the best possible plan, because we're seeing, you know, big companies laying off hundreds of people. With a direct lender, all these dates would stay in the LOS and they would be added kind of like you see in that in the back up here. They're just added as they work through them. You don't have to follow them because we use a separate LOS system and we don't know where our loan is going. We have to have that slightly added bit of work. An LOA could do this. Your processor could do this if you speak with her about that. This is not, in my opinion, this is not a task necessarily that a buyer should be billed for, because it's about keeping your license and your loan correct versus processing and selling their loan. Now, if you add this to your processor's duties or your LOAs and it comes to us complete and we don't have to do anything, we're not worried about it. But if we have to go in and use company time and resources, we're going to need to be compensated for that. So we don't know exactly what it is at the moment, and we're not there yet. But as we add LOs and as you guys get busier, errors like this, that they, you know, one or two might take 15, 20 minutes. But if there's 20 or 30, now I've got someone spending a day on this. And so just be aware of that right now. We're hoping that by just talking about this, explaining how it works, how simple it is, to basically pop open this page. And each lender should have a version of this to make it as simple as possible. Or you just go in and you realize, you know, okay, I had a critical day in my loan. There was a change. I went to process it. I sent the LE, let me pop in here and do that. Sometimes we're just happy to get them out. We're on the road, whatever. But that's the system of how this was worked. Any questions? Nothing. All right. Okay. So we got that for now. This is something that we'll probably keep following up on because it is something we do need your help for. The last thing with a loan file that is super important, and going back up to this data here, where let's see. So I need to keep these documents for 3 years from the date the loan closes, from the date an application was submitted. In UWM, you can go into, actually, I'll go back up here. So in UWM, you can go into right here into Documents Manager. You open that, and it'll give you options to generate documents. You'll come to a screen, and it'll say Generate Documents, and you're just going to click on it. Any document that has been put into their system, seen by their underwriter, anything. Now think of a closed loan is mostly where this becomes super important. So we need to keep, I guess at some point back in the 70s when they had trust accounts, they also had printed files. Imagine that. But this particular closed loan is 624 pages of a PDF. We need to simply keep this document for 3 years with this file. It's one download from UWM. You're basically going to hit generate document, and in about 10 minutes, you'll get an email update that says your document has been generated. Go into your file and get it. You're going to go back to the exact same page, and you'll see a live link for this PDF to download. This thing is huge. So Travis and myself, we were talking about how we're going to store these. These will not upload to the LOS system. So we're going to probably, the simplest way is probably to do a G drive transfer from your computer to allow us to grab it, and then we will keep it in some sort of a cloud storage or something for the 3 years, just tagged to the name and loan number, which is going to be the simplest. But these things are huge. The nice thing about this 624 pages, it has everything. It has the pictures that were submitted for this ID. It has the bank statements, the credit report, the conditions that the loan, the complete 1003 in a printed version. It has everything. And it's just one download. It's super easy. You're done. Each lender has a version of this. If you choose to work with another lender, it's going to be your guys' responsibility to figure out how to get those critical dates and this document or these files for us for our 3-year storage. Does that sound simple? Does it sound fair? Do you have questions?
We could probably
Okay.
just set it up like, if we're going to be storing these last files here, to where you can forward it over to Proppy, and maybe we'll just set up a little file in there, and
That's what we were talking about.
we
Awesome.
can
So
just
you know
use the
what?
docs email, so you
Mhm.
can just send it into the docs email, and then that's all you would need to do, really.
After this call, let's test this because this
Yeah.
is a big one. The last one I pulled down for Dean was about half of this. So I'm
Some of
wondering,
them are
yeah.
really long. Yeah.
Yeah. I scrolled through this one. I just took this snapshot. I'm a huge snapshot guy because it just makes it easy. But where I wanted, there's 600 and something pages. I scrolled through this with Amelia, just showing it to her what's in here because we just wanted to check and make sure this has, if there's a document that the NMLS is looking for based on some sort of complaint or something from this client, the likelihood that it's anywhere else and not here is, it probably lost anyways. This thing is as complete as can be. It's super easy for you guys to grab it and get it to us. and it's going to be very easy for us to keep it for the 3 years, and we just move on to the next loan and client. So pretty simple. Now let's talk about, this is information that I got from, if you guys have ever done anything with NEC, David Luna was speaking. So that was the main draw that I went to this training. He's really involved with, the Fed. He's paying attention to all this stuff that's going on for their training school. They're doing actual new licensing as well as CE, and they're pushing this stuff all the time. He partners with training groups here and there throughout the year. But he's just, he's a great resource, delivers information pretty good. So I just wanted to go through some of this stuff with you. So you can see there's kind of a light at the end of the tunnel, or, but there's definitely some information here that I think we can focus on. So big thing, talking about, we're going to have a lot of buyers coming because, we have almost 5 million millennials about to turn 30. And I think it's 28 to about 43 is the main window people buy their first home. So they're thinking, they're believing that we're going to see a huge portion of this group. I didn't grab all the slides. I grabbed just some for talking points, but they said at least, I think it was like 40% of millennials have bought houses, and another 30% are planning to buy this year. So, let's call it 30% of 4 million is plenty of business for us. The next thing that they're talking about, 70% of new US, this is national, could be Hispanic homeowners. I'm going to just go out on a limb and say that a lot of that could be California, Arizona, but regardless, they do believe that a lot of Hispanic families and people will be buying houses this coming year. For us, I think that's just, it's a huge opportunity. If you're a Spanish speaking LO, great opportunity for you. It's information that might cause you to consider adding a Spanish speaking LO to your team, someone in that aspect, as well as it might, cause you to want to start to market slightly different, adding in that, Spanish speaking message with your marketing. So the next thing is, they don't believe that our housing crisis, our low inventory is going to change. Almost 500,000 apartments have been built nationwide. There's another slide that said the government, Biden, is trying to help us by coming up with the opportunity of putting out 100,000 low-income houses. Now that's not for San Diego, that's not for California, that's for the United States. So I don't know, we're all going to get 3 in his plan, which is, in my opinion, just a big marketing joke or whatever, something for him to raise a flag about. But there's a lot of apartments being done because people got to live somewhere. So, and let's see, as we keep going, talking about COVID, they're believing that, is still a big part of our problem with supply chain, with the different issues with labor, things like that. But some of the slides that they did show us show that there's a massive drop in the latest Omicron, cases and things like that. It spiked higher than it did last year when we were actually on lockdown, and it dropped even faster, went straight up and straight down. So they're believing that, people will get back to work a little bit. The supply chain will loosen up, prices will stabilize, things like that. So again, here's that thing. So they're saying 90% of US pandemic high, which is that thing. They believe that as fast as this has been dropping, they're estimating that we might see, all the different mask mandates lifted in the next probably, 6 weeks or so. Almost 500,000 jobs were added just in January. This is again nationally. on 1.2 million jobs over the last 2 months. So we're seeing this. This is a reason that they're bouncing back to when the Fed is talking about why rates might be going up. They're saying that we're doing better based on this information. So new construction. One of the things that we're seeing is, new construction is over 5 million houses behind in what we need today to be to basically have the correct supply for buyers. So the lack of new construction, the increase in buyer demand right now is what's caused this massive, inventory shortage, the low inventory. They're saying that, we're going to get back to a healthy average rate of 3.7%. Here in California, probably not. I think California is going to be one of the last places where we see, new construction really become a successful Band-Aid or, facilitator to us getting back to a normal market, because we're running out of space, because, once you hit the coast, it's just water. And, the way that we're built, we're either mountains or we're water. So it's a hard thing. This is another reason why we're not seeing as many lower income properties being built within the new construction offering. Is this 94,000 right here? This is different regulations and fees and permits and things that these builders have to pay per house that are causing this increase. So lumber prices right now are $18,000 higher per property. Lots are 144,000 higher, I guess, than what they. So they're saying that just to start, we're at $256,000 before they've even started, laying a foundation on this property. Just figuring out these costs, which is causing them to be having to build, $500,000, $600,000, $700,000 houses to absorb that and be able to make a profit. So low income housing is probably still going to be, something of a challenge over the next, several years. So, higher rates, they're saying, mortgage rates will rise. We expected the moderation in the housing demand causing prices, and growth to temper. A combination of large number of entry-level home buyers should keep the housing market competitive. This isn't talk, this is national, this is not California. I don't believe that our interest rates are going to change our current market much. We're still in a situation where most people are getting double-digit numbers of offers when their house is put on the market. They're getting into contract in 3, 4, 5 days. Definitely the interest rates going up will take some buyers out, but that means if you've got a pretty decent property to sell, instead of having to consider 20 offers, you're going to have to consider 12 or 15. It's not the end of the world for a seller. Will it slow down? Will it slow down how fast the property goes into escrow? I don't know. I don't think so in California, because again, we're still in that sort of double-digit offer situation. The buyer demand here is so high right now that I don't see these things happening to slow our thing down. Plus, again, we're still in a situation where we don't have enough new construction. So these things are going to make big differences Midwest and in lower income areas, but I don't think it's going to change so much for us here. So inflation, they talked a lot about this. I think the next slide talks about it, but they're saying that currently we're at like a 7% hike in inflation, and it's sort of, obviously it's scary for everything. That's what they're talking about. This number 2, they're already saying the most surges that have caused this inflation situation is starting to recede. They're not seeing wages being affected. People aren't losing their jobs, anything like that. They're saying number 4 here, they're expecting basically to be anchored. We're probably at the highest point, and we'll see it down. And they're saying globally the pressure is going to be downward, and that's because a lot of this inflation is due to supply chain issues. So this is again the Treasury, Janet Yellen. She's saying the same thing. We should be, inflation rates will return to a normal, maybe second half. They actually had some pretty interesting predictions for the second half. This being a big part of it, inflation will drop. Now, all these slides that I'm showing and all this data, one thing that I was really impressed by is there's nothing more than 3 or 4 weeks old. This statement by this lady Janet Yellen was less than 3 weeks ago. So this is real, accurate, in the moment data. So due to the current inflation, the Fed is planning to raise rates, but they're talking short-term rates. Those and short-term rates are things like car loans and credit cards. That's what will be affected more than necessarily the current rates offered for mortgages. So this guy, when he talks, when he says things happen with rates, so this is pretty important, and he's saying that, the Fed continues to expect that inflation will move down significantly. So that's what he's believing as the supply and demand imbalances, abate. So again, he's reiterating that he thinks a lot of this inflation is based on the supply chains. And as we get more workers back into the system, we have COVID under control, we have the supply chain starting to take care of itself, and things will calm down. So again, Fed tapering, rates hikes indirectly reduce inflation, which is what the reason, that's what they've been saying is the increased rates will help us control inflation. But again, they're reiterating inflation is mainly caused because of the supply chain. So, supply chain inflation issues should dissipate. The Fed does not want demand-based inflation or wages to spiral out of control. The rate hikes are designed to reduce inflation, which is an enemy of rates. So, they're trying to manipulate things a little bit to control this inflation and get it down. But they believe that we at a more functional, situation with inflation by June. Okay, so this is a really interesting. I think this is this slide's about money. So they're saying from the surveys that they've got, 40% of Americans are considering a move in 2022, and they hope to buy a home. That's a lot of opportunity for us. And all 46 of those people have to be paying attention to, their income rates, the situation with all the prices that are going up, and they're potentially still considering that. But again, another piece of this that's quite profitable for us, which is what I was talking about a few weeks ago with you guys, is people that aren't moving. 72% of homeowners are considering renovations or upgrades. That translates to cash out refis. So we've got 46% of the population. Let's shrink this down to say it's, on average, it's the same across the country. We actually have a lot of people in California. Let's say 46%.
Turning me on, Andrew. You're turning me on, brother. That's what I'm talking about. Let's get excited.
Yeah. I mean, we got 46% of the California willing to move. 72% that currently own a home might do a refi, and most of our buyers are going to be, potentially Hispanic, which is
I'm gonna remodel. Fuck buying $1 million house it's like another shack. Fuck that. But we need to get excited. I came into the business a long time ago and they told me, you're not a loan officer. Your job is to lend money at whatever cost it is.
Yeah, absolutely. And, we help facilitate someone get access to their bank account, which is their equity. That's really what we're doing, So, this is basically the NBA saying that, for rates, are going to go up. We're already at 3.7. We're up, we're around 4 today, I think. That's what they're saying. Okay, I'm not confident, in my opinion, that I think I'm ready to talk about this slide, but I think this one might make you excited too. They pushed this a lot. This was kind of the one that they sort of tried to finish on. They're thinking that inflation will drop to about, half of what it is now by June, and by December, they're saying we might see these rates again. I don't know. Like, I feel like, again, if I just came to you guys and was like, hey, you know what, rates are going to be in the 2s in December, go out and crush it. You guys would be like, that guy's an idiot. And I just, this is good information to keep. Where I think this is a money slide for us is everybody that you're closing a loan with right now, you need to stay in contact with throughout this year, because there's going to be an opportunity for a refi to save, to get everyone that we close in the next 3, 4, 5 months. We might be able to do a refi for them and drop them a point or 2, which is big savings long term, especially when they're only 6 or 8 months into their new 30-year mortgage. So this is, again, do we know if it's going to happen? I don't. If it does, we've got a great opportunity with, current past clients. Last slide here is, this guy, Dr. Lawrence Young, he thinks, we might, reach 3.7, which we have. His prediction is the median home price will still rise another 5%, 5.7%. Again, this is not too bad. We're here now. This is still a good average. We know that, in California, we're way above this. If this is national, we could still be, this could translate to still 10 to 15% home equity increase in value. So, a lot of good information. As I said, all these slides and these comments by these particular people, less than 3 weeks old. So it is like relevant. It's what they believe that's happening based on what we're seeing in the market right now. Any questions, guys? What do you think?
I'm glad I'm recording this, because in December, I'm going to replay it.
Yeah,
And
that'll be awesome. Yes, let's see what this guy is like. We should post this, guys. I mean, it'd be nice. It's, here that I thought about this is, why do we need to get down here again? And the one thing that is, because we spent 1.5 years selling loans at these rates. What has also happened at that same time, we made a bunch of money. Our clients saved a bunch of money. Every lender that we pushed one of these loans through, they figured out they were making money. They profited. So even though there's not necessarily a need to be this low, everyone in our financial market has now experienced that these rates inspire people to borrow more, which ultimately allow them to make more profit. So this is okay, and COVID sort of set that up. It prepped us for the ability here. It's like, we don't want to be up here. This is bad, but, and the idea that, okay, this is more profitable for everyone except the borrower. They figured it out here. And I don't believe many lenders went out of business. Maybe some brokers did, but lenders didn't, So these are functional numbers that can keep us moving through the mortgage market and the money business, for long periods of time. So it is possible that we get back to that because it will inspire more people to buy. So yeah, we'll see. So we're just past 10. Hopefully this was good information. If you guys have more questions on this stuff, if we scroll back way up here and we're looking at critical dates, how to jump into LendingPad or into UWM, and we're using UWM as kind of our basis. They have the easiest systems for everyone. We have great rates with them. They make it really easy for us. And frankly, I can't learn everybody's system. So we're using this one as our core, but the dates and things are the same that we need for every file. And, once we get used to using Lending Pad more, I think this will be super easy. It will be nothing we need to worry about.
So, Andrew,
Yes.
can we do a lending pad input one day?
Yes,
know,
that's what I say. I'm gonna build some more out that will be there on specific things. So one that I have coming up is, how you can pull a pre-existing credit report into your Lending Pad file, and it will update the data. How to pull things across, I'll show you guys how to load documents and label them and things like that. So I'll be building some of those out because we're going to need those for the future LOs that come on, and where I can just push them over to that. And not that we don't want to help you, but a lot of times if I can say, oh yeah, no problem, Paul, go to this, there's a video tagged critical dates in the back office. Now you don't have to sit and be bothered by me. You can go and fit it into your schedule when you need to watch that thing and get it done without me. So that's kind of the long-term goal. And
Yeah,
that's
just the points of what we need as LOs to
Mhm.
make everything compliant.
Right.
I think I'm okay to a certain point with it now.
Mhm.
I'm still getting used to it. I've tried the loan app also
Okay.
on it
The
versus
loan app, meaning the phone app?
the application like Blink.
Okay.
There's one in
Lending Pad.
Lending Pad.
Yep.
And so I did that one. My client couldn't open it, so that was the other day. So go back to the drawing board.
Right. And
That's
and
kind of
so
strange. I mean, you can use the Blink one again if you want. I
I
like the
did.
Lending Pad one better. I think the branding on it's better.
Yeah, I did
And
use
it
the
dumps right
Blink.
into where you need it.
Yeah, because with Blink, you can copy, the Fannie Mae file and just transfer it over to Lending Pad, which is
Yeah.
good.
now also, and I'll show you that I'll pull that together too. You can pull a Blink file, put it into Lending Pad. You can pull an active file you're working. Let's say for some reason you just had like, a very aggressive buyer came to you, said, hey, I've got an accepted offer. But I hate my lender. Get me going. And you go right into UWM and start building out that file, and you're working in their system. You can pull that file out too and load it right into here. And I can show you guys how to do that too. So, that's the nice thing about this program is it does accept things mid-process, and it pretty much keeps up. Like with the credit, like you can pull credit report through Advantage, looking at an Advantage, bring it into here, tag the right, lender or the right ID file, and it'll pull that information in after the fact, just like you were pulling the original credit. And it'll put in, all your assets and liabilities into your file for you.
Yeah.
So you're not adding them one by one, which is a lot of times what you end up doing if you're building out a file and like inside of UWM. So yeah, those are things that I'm kind of working on as we go. And what slows me down of trying to do things like that is if we're chasing these dates for you. So the less I have to do that way, allows me to do more stuff. But any questions, shoot them over. This is recorded. So again, and these are the critical dates. I can grab this and send this to you, just this link, if that helps you, Paul. This as a picture, so you know which ones we really want, and go from there. But yeah, any questions, just shoot me an email or text, whatever.
That'll work.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.
Awesome.
Hi,
Thanks.
Andrew. It's Cecilia. Can you send me a link to this image as well?
Yep, I'll put it into an email, into the group email, and send it out a little bit later.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Great info, Andrew. Thank you.
Yeah,
You're welcome. Talk to you guys later.
good session. All right, guys. We'll see you.
Bye-bye.
All right.